This video is the second part to my tutorial on Filebeat. In the first video, I showed how to install, configure, set up, and secure Filebeat. So if you don't know how to do any of that, I will leave a link to the first video in the description of this video. For this video, I'm going to jump straight into setting up rules and alerts. Then I will use an open source tool called Logstash to relay any notifications to our email. And while watching this video, if you find the content of this video helpful, then help us out by pressing the like button. And if you want to be informed of new videos as we release them, then you can press the subscribe button. So let's get started. The first thing we should decide is what to build our email alerts around. And I thought maybe a very simple case would be to let's notify ourselves whenever there are too many failed SSH login attempts. And I think we've done an email notification around failed SSH logins with another beat, but let's just do the same thing again, but with Filebeat. I think we should begin by clicking on this menu, and I want to go to our dashboards. So I'll open up dashboards in a separate window, and then I'm going to look specifically for the SSH dashboard. This one. The reason is these visualizations here are created by queries, right? And we can take a look at some of the queries behind these visualizations to inform ourselves of what query we would need to set up our email alerts. So you can see this graph here is showing all our successful SSH login attempts. And let's take a look. Oh, I should click edit here. And then I will click this wheel icon, edit visualization, to expose this query here. So this graph is made by system.auth.ssh.event equals to accepted, right? And I believe the other flags is failed, invalid, and some other ones. To help ourselves confirm whether that's the case or not, I'll click cancel. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it into a window. That way we don't lose this. All right, and next, let's cancel this. And I see here all the different SSH login attempts. There's green, blue, orange. Orange means failed. Blue is invalid. Green is the accepted. Right, so if I had another query, so let me come back over here, and I did failed, I believe that should return some results. And we can test this out either by setting up another visualization here, or let's just go to the Discover tab over here. Okay, and I'll paste my query in here, and let's just see if it returns any results. And it does. So we know that this query will return failed results. Okay, so I think we're ready to move on to the next step, which is to create an email alert around failed SSH login attempts. To create the email alerts, the first thing we need to do is set up rules. And there are various places we can set up rules. Let me click back to this first tab, the observability area. Right? So to set up rules, one place you can go is under observability and alerts tab. Let's open that up. And within the alerts tab, in the far right over here, you see a button for manage rules. You can click on manage rules, and here you're given the option to create your first rule. So if I click on create rule, you're going to see this panel here saying additional setup is required. And you see this because this is a brand new installation of Kibana and Elastic, so some additional security settings are needed to enable the create rule feature. There's a few other places where you can go to create rule, but they all link to the same place. The other place is under log stream, or any of these log options really. You can actually click on alerts and rules, and again, click on manage rules to take you back to the screen we saw earlier, or you can click on create rule over here. And again, you're going to see the notice for additional setup. Okay. And there's yet another place where you can go to create rules, which is under stack management. So if I click on stack management, and I click to rules and connectors, this area also lets you set up rules. So they all link to the same place. The difference is that when you're under stack management, rules and connectors, there's a lot more rule types that you're eventually going to be able to choose from. But when you're under observability and you click on log stream or alerts, those rules under observability are a subset of the full set of rule types that you can choose from underneath the stack management rules and connectors. Okay, so if you need more options, just come to stack management rules and connectors. But if you only want rules specific for observability, you can just create the rule types under the observability area. So with that said, let's talk about how to enable rules and connectors, which is to go through the additional setup required. To enable the rules and connectors, we need to add the property xpack.encrypted-saved-objects.encryption key to the kibana.yaml file on our Kibana server. And this property needs to have a string that's at least 32 characters. So let me just type this in like that. So that's 10 characters, 20, 30, and I'll just do this. Now you want this encryption key to be a bit more secure and hard to guess. I'm just keeping it simple like this for now, for demonstration purposes. Now if I go to my Kibana server, so this terminal window is my Kibana server, and if I go to the Kibana file, cd etc Kibana, and if I open up this kibana.yaml file, and I added this line to anywhere in this document and restart Kibana, this would fully enable my rules and connectors area. But because this 32, or in this case 34 character string is supposed to be a secret, I'm going to use the key store instead to store this property value. So if I go to the binary folder of the Kibana directory in share USR, I can do Kibana key store add, and we're going to take this property here, hit enter. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I just typing mistake. Let's do this. All right. So add this property, and it's going to prompt me to paste in the value. So I'll take this. And just by doing this, we've effectively added the xpack encrypted saved object.encryption key property to the Kibana configuration. And now I just have to restart Kibana. And let's see if it took the change. Okay, so all infos, no errors so far. And if I come here, if I hit refresh, okay, so it might take a minute, so I'll pause for a moment. Okay, it looks like Kibana has fully restarted now. Now if I log in, and now we're ready to start creating our first rule. So let's create our first rule. I can fill out some of the options up here, but the thing I want to point out first is look at all the different rule types that we can choose from. And that's because we're under the stack management rules and connectors, which give us all the options. In fact, there's one here specific to logs. So we can create a rule type around logs. In many of our other Beats video, we tend to use the Elasticsearch query, which gives maximum flexibility, right? But we're probably going to build a rule with the log type rule since we're working with logs. Now we can do it through here, or like I mentioned before, we can actually just go to the observability section over here, click on alerts, and we can click on manage rules. We can also create one through here, or I can click on log stream, then go to the menu and click on alerts and rules, create rule. And when I click create rule through here, it automatically selected the log threshold rule type. And basically, this is just a shortcut to the stack management rules and connectors, log threshold rule type. Okay, so let's just create one through here. We are going to notify ourselves of failed SSH logins. So I'll just say failed SSH. That's it. Yeah, failed SSH. You can call it anything you want. And let's check every minute. We will send a notification on check intervals. So that would be every minute. And when the count of log entries for log level is error, sure, we'll do that. And is more than, oh, you know what? Let's pick a different field. I believe the field, we need to refer back to this notepad here. We want this field, right? All right, it is there. So whenever that field is failed, and let's see, is more than, let's say more than or equal to 1, just for now, right? So any failed SSH login attempt will trigger this rule. We're just keeping it simple, but you probably want to change these thresholds to something else in a production environment. Okay, for the last minute. And yeah, we don't need to do any group by. Now let's just test to see if this rule works. Oh, sometimes there's a preview. I guess there are no previews here. Sometimes you see a preview window that shows a graph of previous failed attempts, but I guess it's not visible here for some reason, but that doesn't matter. Let's just save this rule. All right, the rule has been made. Oh, and to see the rule, we should click on alerts, click on manage rules, and you can see that this rule is underway. There are a few statuses here that you typically see. OK means that this rule is enabled. It's running. This flag will change to active if this rule is actually triggered. And there might be another status saying pending whenever the rule is maybe doing some kind of update, which usually happens when you first create the rule. But let's see if we can get this status to active. I'm going to open up, let's say, maybe my Kibana server. No, let's open up the actual server that has Filebeat installed on it. So this server has Filebeat installed on it, and it's actually publishing the event information to our Elastic Stack over here. And I'm going to, let's say, create some failed SSH login attempts. All right, I'm just going to put in some fictitious passwords, right? And I think in a moment, this status should set to active. So I'll pause for a moment. Okay, great. You can see that the last response is now set to active, meaning that the rule is fired. Okay, so moving on, we ultimately want to get any active responses of this rule to be relayed over to our email system. And there's a few steps we need to do. First step is we want to publish these results to a server log file. Once those results are in a log file, we will use an open source tool called Logstash to ingest a log file and then relay those alerts over to our email. And to do that, let's edit this rule, because in this rule, the final step we could have done was do an action. In fact, under actions, there is an email connector, but the email connector requires a gold license, but the gold license actually discontinued, so really you need the platinum license. And with a platinum license, it'll enable this email alert, and you can just use it right off the bat, just like that. So I strongly recommend that you get the platinum package as your needs for Elastic continue to grow, because the platinum license opens up a lot of other features within the Elastic Stack. But for now, we'll just stick with server log, with the server log connector, because it comes free with the Elastic Stack. It's great for us to experiment with. And we will use this server log connector to publish the results of this rule to the kibana.log file on our Kibana server. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll click on create a connector, and this connector can be anything you want. So I'll just say Filebeat log connector, right? Just give it something meaningful to yourself. And let's publish results to Kibana.log whenever the rule is fired. Yep, that makes sense. And in terms of level, I'm going to select error. So this level field assigns a flag to the result of this query. So it's completely up to you what you choose this log level to be. Yeah, it becomes useful for us later on when we use logstash to parse some of the information of the logs. So that's what it's useful for. All right, and this is the message that by default would have been published to the kibana.log file. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it into, one moment. There we go. I'm going to paste it into here. And then I'm going to take this and then I'll paste it into here. Okay, so this is the message I actually want to publish to the kibana.log file. And that's because later on with logstash, I can parse out some of these information a little bit more easily this way. What you're seeing in here, these are mustache template variables, and there's quite a few that you can choose from in here, right? But we'll just stick with these. And what this template says is, maybe it's a bit hard to read, so I'm gonna format it a bit. Give me a moment. Okay, so this is an indented version of this message here. So it's just saying if this does not exist, and if this exists, then print this, then print this message. If context.isRatio exists, then print this message. So that's all this says. All right, so coming back to this rule, let's actually go ahead and save it. All right, we've updated the rule, so let's try to trigger this rule again with some failed SSH attempts. All right, and okay, and with that, I'm going to SSH to my Kibana server. All right, so this window is SSH session with my Kibana server, and I'm going to go to the var log directory, and I'm going to open up kibana.log, scroll all the way to the bottom, and so far I don't see any indication that a template like this appears in here. So I'm going to pause and wait a moment to see if the results show up. Okay, it's been about a minute. Let's open up our kibana.log file, scroll all the way to the bottom. Oh, there we go. I can see that. This template that we pasted in earlier ends with like these 6 hyphens. And in terms of the level equals error, which is what we decided on earlier over here. Level, which will become useful for us when we're using logstash to decide what messages to relay to our email. Okay, so next, let's install an open source tool called Logstash to this server, because we can use Logstash to ingest the kibana.log file and pass the alerts over to our email. I opened up this web page here, which is the installation instructions for Logstash, and Logstash uses the exact same dependencies as Kibana. So we do the same public signing key, we still need this dependency, and we use the exact same repositories. And because I need to install Logstash to the same server as the kibana.log file, which means it's the Kibana server, I basically have all these dependencies met. And I only need to run the final command, which is, this apt-get install Logstash, right? But if you don't have any of these dependencies on your Kibana server for whatever reason, then just run those same, just take each of these commands and paste it into your command line. But because I've already done all that, I just have to install Logstash like this. All right, so it'll just take a moment. Okay, and it's installed. let's tell Logstash to ingest the Kibana.log file and email ourselves the alerts. All right, so to do that, I'm going to start a new file. And you can call this file anything you want. And I've got some instructions prepared in advance, which I'm going to paste in here. So what you're looking at here is a Logstash configuration pipeline. And a pipeline is made up of at least 2 mandatory stages. The first mandatory stage is this input stage, and the other mandatory stage is the output stage over here. So the input stage is basically saying, please ingest a file called var log kibana.log file. It is going to be of the type JSON, and we're going to start reading the file from the beginning of the file or where the last ingestion took place. The other mandatory stage is this output stage here, and it's saying if log.level is equal to error. So coming back to this screen here, if the level here is error, then we go ahead and fire off these 2 output plugins. One plugin is the email output plugin, and the other one is the standard output plugin. The email output plugin is saying relay the record from kibana.log to the email at user@example.com, and we'll say it's from user@example.com. Feel free to replace these with your email addresses. Right? The subject of the email is going to be alert : and then an event data field or variable, right? An event data field called alert name, which we parsed further up in this filter stage over here. Okay, and I'll talk about the filter stage in a moment. The body stage, the body property will dump the log message event data field and also dump the message data field. We're going to connect to an email server called Mailtrap, and it's going to be on port 2525. And we need to authenticate with the username E09 da 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 and the password F30 da 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 da. All right, and the other output we're also going to do is we're also going to dump the raw message to just the command line interface or to terminal. It's good for debug purposes, but for production, you could just completely remove this stage or this output plugin altogether. This middle stage here, called the filter stage, is completely optional, and I'm using grok pattern matching to parse out individual records from the kibana.log file to populate some variable names. So let me just quickly demonstrate how that works. If I go to var log kibana.log file, and if I go to the very bottom, what we're seeing is there's a field here called message, right? So I'm saying take this message field, and I expect it to be of something like this format. So let's say it's going to be message, and I'm going to copy this whole message up until these 6 hyphens. And let me find a grok debugger. In fact, I believe there should be one. Oh, I'm not sure why I'm logged out. So let me just log back in. Okay, I'm going to go to the dev tools. Sometimes I like using this grok debugger. Sometimes I just find one online. But if I paste the sample data in here, so this is what's being put into our kibana.log file. And then if I take my, let me go here. I'm going to take this rule or this pattern, and I'm going to paste it into this grok pattern over here. Click simulate. So what's happening here is that this pattern is saying, expect these few characters first, which is this. And then we're going to use a grok pattern data, which is really a regular expression, to take this information. Whoops, give me a moment. Take this failed SSH, load it into this event data field called alert name. Then we expect log message data. So take all this content and load it into the event data field called log message. And you can see that it's parsed out like this. So that's actually what's happening here, and that's why we have the alert name available in the output stage here, and why we have log message available in this output stage here. And this message is basically this message, which is basically this entire message field over here. Okay, so that's basically it. Let's go ahead and actually run. Oh, there's one more thing we need to do. I need to verify this, so give me a moment. I mentioned I'm using Mailtrap as my SMTP server because what I like about it is that it's free and it's a development area. Any emails that come in here stay in here. So let's just make sure that these credentials are correct. E09 and then ends with 6C. E09 ends with 6C. Password is F30, ends with 74. F30 ends with 74. Okay, yeah, so everything else should be good. So I'm going to exit out of here and we can actually run logstash now. So I'm going to go USR share logstash, binary logstash, and then -F for file. And we need to state the absolute path to our configuration file. I'll hit enter and I'll just let this thing run. It might take a minute or so to load up. Okay, it looks like everything has been loaded up. We can actually see some of the standard output from our logstash.conf file, and there's been a whole backlog of other records coming to my email. Right, we're getting lots of emails because there was just a backlog. So let me clear this, and let me go to my server that has Filebeat installed on it, and let's trigger a few failed login attempts. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pause because in a moment we should see an email over here or even see a new record down here. Okay, that took less than a minute. We can see a new log entry in Kibana.log, and we can see that logstash ingested that record and forwarded over to our email system over here. So that concludes our tutorial on Filebeat. If you found the contents of this video helpful, then give us a like. And if you want to stay on top of the videos as we release them, then consider subscribing to our channel. So we'll see you in the next video.